Life ain't shit but a fat vagina. Blaring out of my open cup over the head, headphones. Blaring out to that girl's face. It's like I faced her as she came into the elevator. She recognized me because we've been dealing with each other like the day before, something like that. But we lock eyes as that shit's playing. Life ain't shit but a fat vagina. As if that's all I'm about, basically. Why does that matter? Oh, it's a coworker. You talk about 2015. Cancel woke shit wasn't like a thing back when still. But it mattered because this girl happened to be someone that worked in HR. Oh, human resources, fuck me. I thought immediately in my mind, I'm like, oh shit, I'm not even like a year into this company. And I already fucked myself. I already just pinned myself into this corner, this situation where there's no escaping whatsoever at all. I'm totally fucked. Thanks to King Kunta specifically and some lyrics in question. Yes, it is true, and I'm being so real. I have no reason to lie about it, but I still remember it fondly. Now I'm able to remember it fondly more as a funny moment and or memory that I can gladly recap instead of like at the time when it happened, when it went down back in 2015, of the pure terror and fear that was like just kind of stabbed me right through my heart at the moment when it happened, when it all went down. But my personal relationship with the album, and I got a lot of personal experiences, memories with a whole bunch of albums. I've definitely explained those before, but specifically now today, To Pimp a Butterfly, 10 years later, brought to you by Kendrick Lamar, and specifically the track in question, King Kunta. I'm not going to do the whole breakdown, nothing like that. I'm not going to do the nerd shit right now about the album. We're just going to talk about King Kunta and how King Kunta almost got me fucking fired, of all things. Handed me my pink slip that same day almost, or at least, maybe I exaggerated in my fear that it could have happened, but just hear me out at least, Okay, so it's 2015, the album releases, I'm bumping it just like every other hip-hop head is bumping it. We're all talking about it at work and shit. March 15th has passed. March 15th was whatever day of the week it was. It was 2 days before I turned 1 year old with the company I started working with back in 2014, March 17th, oddly enough. So, I'm kind of like riding my own kind of high, like a steady job, a well-paying job, or compared to what I've done before for work and shit. Minding my business. If you remember too, I really enjoyed this specific pair of headphones I had before. Like I mentioned, the over-the-head big-ass cup ones headphones. I don't know if they're still around or if they're even like, available like that. But there was a brand called Skull Candy, which, they were like cool-looking ass designs for like the headphones and earbuds they made, but they were cheap. That was the whole selling point. And I guess aimed at a younger demographic. I'm not so young, obviously, but you know what I mean. I mean, back then, 10 years ago, I was just about to turn 30. So, huge difference. I guess I was still technically young. So, I would walk around at work, in the office, setting. Lunch hour comes, I go outside to eat. I would pack my lunch some days. Sometimes, like on a Friday, I would just like treat myself to something nearby, minding my business, tuning out to whatever's fucking on rotation album-wise. Podcasting was a thing, but there weren't so many podcasts available to like, have just like an endless playlist. So, I had music to go to like that, and especially Kendrick's album just dropped. So, of course, I'm focusing on that. I walk outside, I come back, I don't remember what the fuck I ate, but point is I came back in the elevator. We work on the 7th floor. This is, of course, 2015, so way before the pandemic when you had to work in person in the office. I'm still with the same company for point of reference. I'm coming up the elevator. I have, of course, a lunch hour, which is busiest. I think it was like, 2:30 to 3:30, so like I'm elbow to elbow in the elevator going back up with, a mix of different suits and other customer service representatives like me because I worked at a call center, and, just a mishmash of whoever the fuck was taking the elevator conveniently enough to the 7th floor, to our company's floor. I got my shit on. I don't even remember what happened. I don't even remember what I had on me as far as, it might have been my iPod Touch. Shout out to iPod Touch. I fucking miss those things so much. But I was playing the album. It was specifically the track King Kunta. And as the elevator door is opening to let us out on the 7th floor, this girl is coming in to enter the elevator, to go down. I guess, she pressed down, the shit was going up, who the fucking, the thing you do like when elevators, like the down elevator ain't coming anytime soon, so you just end up taking the up elevator to go to however many floors up, and then eventually it'll come back down anyway. I guess she had free time like that. That was a game plan. At this point, because I'm about to clock back into work, I don't have my headphones on. I take them and I put them over my neck with the cups exposed outwards. She's coming in, and as King Kunta's playing the track from To Pimp a Butterfly, of all fucking parts of the song, and I have to quote specifically so you know what the fuck I'm talking about, you can Google it if you don't believe me, the lyrics, of course, it goes a little something like, quote, a little nappy-headed ninja with the world behind him. Life ain't shit but a fat vagina. Screaming, Annie, are you okay? Annie, are you okay? Now, you can omit the first bar, you can omit the third bar, the last bar. The one in the middle, oddly enough, just like a pussy, just like a vagina, quote again, life ain't shit but a fat vagina. Blaring out of my open cup, over the head, headphones, blaring out to that girl's face. It's like I faced her as she came into the elevator. She recognized me because we've been dealing with each other like the day before, something like that. But we lock eyes as that shit's playing. Life ain't shit but a fat vagina. As if that's all I'm about, basically. Why does that matter? Oh, it's a coworker. You talk about 2015 and cancel woke shit wasn't like a thing back when still. But it mattered because this girl happened to be someone that worked in HR. Oh, human resources, fuck me. I thought immediately in my mind, I'm like, oh shit, I'm not even like a year into this company. And I already fucked myself. I already just pinned myself into this corner, this situation where there's no escaping whatsoever at all. I'm totally fucked. In my mind, that's all the thoughts that are racing through my mind at that exact precise moment. Because again, on top of it, we locked eyes. I'm smiling at her, she's smiling back, and then of course, life ain't shit but a fat vagina. I might as well just cup both my hands over my mouth and say, life ain't shit but a fat vagina. Right to her fucking face. Because we were locking eyes. We made direct eye contact. I believe, I'm one of those, I believe in direct eye contact when I'm talking to someone out of respect. That's a whole nother thing aside. Point is, she's subjected to that shit, and she works in HR. So that's why immediately my thoughts are racing in my mind. I'm fucked. How am I going to pay my bills, my rent, all this shit too? I'm barely in the company a year. It's finally a decent job I got. I've been afforded that luxury of having a decent enough job that pays well enough and shit, even though I was getting killed tax-wise up until like 2 years ago. I owed somehow the government taxes because, God forbid I'm single with no dependents. And also, but here's the thing though. The reason why I was dealing with that girl and I recognized her right away is because, again, she's in HR. I had a problem with my paycheck. Apparently, I took friendly enough advice from a coworker who gave me the wrong info as far as filing taxes. Well, not filing taxes, but like, I forget the exact term for it, but it's, when you declare whether you do or don't have, I forget what the fuck it was, but some sort of status thing. Like instead of a 2, I was marked down as a 1. So it basically meant that out of every paycheck, I had a lot more taxes getting taken from me. So I went to HR to ask to see if I could talk to someone about that, like maybe 2 days before, something like that. Oddly enough, she's the girl that takes me, to her little cubicle in HR. She looks it over with me. She's like, oh yeah, this is what happened. You're supposed to, if you're single, no dependents, you're supposed to be this instead of that. So she fixed me. She saved my fucking paycheck from getting, pardon the terminology, but raped every fucking week with taxes because, taxes are a fucking bitch, as I'm sure you know already. But she fixed that for me. I forget her name at this point now. I don't even know if she's still with the company. But at that point, she was very nice, very cordial in that sense, and afforded me the luxury of helping me out with my fucking paycheck of all things. And that's how I repay her after the fact. A mere couple of days later, by having the song by Kendrick, King Kunta, specifically the line, "Life ain't shit but a fat vagina," blaring in the fucking face. I might as well have fucking taken one of the cups of my headphones and just rubbed her face in it like a dog who pissed on your favorite piece of furniture or something like that. There you go, bitch. But not her. I'm not calling her a bitch. You know what I mean. Referring to the dog in that example. But yeah, that's crazy. I mean, I think back on that shit. Nothing came of it, though. She no-sold it, as they would say, or just her smile when I saw her, because she was very nice throughout the whole time. Like, I wasn't even trying to flirt with her or nothing like that. I was just like, very grateful. Thank you so much when she helped me. And she recognized me because, again, she had helped me like a day or two prior to that. So you recognize somebody, it's like, oh, hey, I didn't say a word. I just smiled. She gets on the elevator. She smiles back at me. But then life ain't shit but a fat vagina blares. Her smile goes into a straight face. No other change in her expression otherwise. The eyes stay the same. Just the smile went from, an upward smile as it looks to just straight, like the emoji, like the seriously emoji kind of look. I still think back on that shit. I'm like, I really panicked, severely panicked at that moment. Justifiably so, I don't know. But I just thought, shit, of all fucking lyrics, I didn't care who was around me. And I know there were a couple of suits, people, much higher in the totem pole than I'll ever be in that company. Double, tripling my salary, if anything. I didn't care if they heard it because I'm minding my business. I didn't have it that loud. I thought at least. But I had the fucking shit on my neck, cups outwards. That shit precisely, it couldn't have been any fucking better timing had I planned it. It was like a sketch. It was like a skit. It was like a setup. It was like a prank, bro. It was something like that. But divine-ass fucking timing in the wrong sense. Life ain't shit but a fat vagina right into a pretty girl's face who happened to work in HR, who helped me the fuck before 2 days before that. That's how I repay her. She probably remembered my name. She probably thought, oh, what a nice guy, respectful and all that shit, when I'm sure she's used to everybody hitting on her, which was a thing when you worked in office. The pretty girls always get the attention. I remember when I was still working in the office very early on, one girl in one department somehow, when it was explained to me, I couldn't believe how she pulled it off. Not the same girl from HR, but another girl who's also working the call center, customer service. She had elaborated some scheme where basically any call that came in, and she was working in an apartment which had like a lower minimum criteria or queue of calls to take in, but they would take longer, so that's why she didn't have to take as many. She figured out some scheme to basically like have the calls come in, go to her voicemail, voice box, whatever, and somehow bounce back into the regular queue, which didn't pertain to her department at all. So it's basically like saying if I need to talk to Department X, no one answers, or she purposely doesn't answer, it bounces back to Department A all the way at the start, And these people know which queues to go to, which prompts to enter on the phone and shit to get to the right department, but she just wasn't doing it. And for the longest time, I think she got away with it for maybe a year. And I know who it was, too, as soon as they said the name, because she was a fucking piece of ass, God bless her, but she was a fucking scam artist. She was a scumbag in that sense. I'm sorry. That's not acceptable behavior into which you conduct yourself with if you're working amongst other customer service representatives. Why do you get to have and or abuse your pretty privilege and just not work but collect a paycheck? We just had a fucking coworker in my department now, a different department outside of customer service, who the same thing for 6 months, did no work, but without fail got paid every 2 weeks, fucking direct deposit. Then when she's fucking fired finally for doing this for the second time, only then we're told, oh, guess what, guys? Just like the first time around when she wasn't doing shit, you're stuck doing all her work again now for a second time, and there's even more shit that hasn't even been touched. So then more of a workload. She's finally at least fired this time, but did it really help us at all? No, because we got our workload on top of her workload, thrown on top of us, scattered amongst us, somewhat equally, but still, it's like, why do more when you don't have to? And then you get told, oh, you got, oh, you know, take your time with it, don't worry about it. But then like 2 days later, oh, we need that immediately. Come on, we got reports coming in, and all that shit's like, make up your fucking mind. That'd be nice first off, but then I get it too. Added pressure. It's whatever. It's whatever at this point. But those were the vibes back in the office, and that's just a very interesting situation I found myself in, which I over-panicked, I'll admit. I really overthought this shit more than I had to. But can you blame me? 1 year into the company, I just got helped from this girl in HR. She was kind enough to like walk me through the details of what went wrong, fix my whole shit for me. Of course, I'm grateful, I'm thankful, and I purposely didn't flirt with her because I knew her, I'd seen her face already, but oddly enough, she was the one that ended up helping me when I went to go seek out help in HR. I didn't flirt with her, I didn't try to hit on her, I didn't make it obvious at least too, but you know, I was, you know, getting my fucking glances, looking up and down as best I could because, you know, God forbid, you know what to wear in the office, which is going to solicit attention and or get you the attention you probably say you don't want, but then she got because I was there, obviously, and I was sitting next to her at her fucking cubicle and all that too, and then, of course, I'm sure she gets talked up and down the elevators, up and down the stairs, outside the lobby, inside the fucking lobby, outside the building, wherever the fuck too, parking lot, all that shit. No questions there. But also, that's my closest direct like relationship I have with this album, To Pimp a Butterfly. That's besides the fact, of course, you know, Kendrick's always been a phenomenal artist to me. Love just about every body of work he's given us leading into To Pimp a Butterfly. Obviously, Good Kid, Mad City, everything afterwards too, for the most part. I wasn't like super, you know, in love with the Super Bowl performance. I would have picked a different playlist of bigger hits, more familiar sounds for people in attendance, mostly white, of course. But, you know, of course, there's the ones that immediately dissected afterwards. This is what this meant. This led into this. And I'm sure there's a whole purpose and intent behind it or a message hidden somewhere, too. Obviously, I'm off-white. What the fuck would I know? I'm the worst person, the weakest source to ask about what the fuck was the hidden meaning behind Kendrick Lamar's Super Bowl halftime show. Don't ask me. I don't know shit. I do know this, though. That album specifically, besides King Kunta and the Trouble it potentially got me in, has another track at the very end, which I love very much, and it probably might be the reason why I go back to that album so much, and I play it from start to finish, just to end everything with Mortal Man, which I love so much is the last track on the album. It's the longest track, too, as well. The one, if you remember, the one at the very end where he's like having a pretend sit-down interview with Tupac. Obviously not real, but sounds very convincing. You know, it's Kendrick. It's unique. It's different. You know, as opposed to fucking Drake when he said, whatever song that was, Kendrick opened his mouth, someone go get him a Grammy. Shit like To Pimp a Butterfly is why he deserved Grammys. As many as he's gotten, as many as he's received, and as many as will be nominated in the near future for, I'm sure. To Pimp a Butterfly, especially Mortal Man's that type of shit where, like, you know, you could just end it with a final track. You could just, you know, do the posse cut at the very end. You could just do something like a remix to a hit single at the very end. At the time, it was apropos still. But he decided to go the route, which I really loved, because Mortal Man is the longest. It's the most intricate. It's the most, like, soulful, like, you know, bearing of the fruit and shit. It reminded me so much of a lot of my favorite last final tracks on so many different projects from artists I love. I'm not the biggest fan of the Beastie Boys, but specifically referring to the second album, Paul's Boutique, the very last track, which I'm going to butcher the name, but I think it's B-Boy Babusel, is just, I loved what they did with it after I read into it because it was always a weird standout track to me because it's the last track. I forget exactly how long it is, pause, but it's like basically 6 or 7 songs that were kind of pieced together into one, I guess you can call B-side mega mix, songs that were kind of like left in pieces that they didn't know how to really, you know, flesh out into full-on songs for themselves, but they didn't want to like scrap them or throw them away or just have them never be heard, which is the whole point of that track because, again, it's just different songs put together that all sound good, all sound great, like they could have been awesome, but again, they never got used. So that's the Beastie Boys. My other personal favorite in that sense would be the last track on The College Dropout from Kanye West, you know, when he was fucking normal. Last Call, which, you know, it's a great song too. Love the beat. I forget who the sample was. I don't want to misquote or miscategorize by race who the sample was. I think it was Beth Midler. But the whole elaborating on his kind of upcoming into his rap career, leading into who he became up until that point in 2004, the whole story with his mom, you know, getting the U-Haul truck, building his own bed and shit. It doesn't sound like he really went through a lot of difficult shit or hard times and or, you know, the stereotypical like hood upbringing and not like that, but it was still like, damn, he went through some shit. And at the end of the day, he really believed in himself enough to make something of himself where, you know, he had his mom as his biggest fan, to make something of himself to the point where we're still talking about him, even if it's mostly in a negative sense, in 2025. There's no denying he's a generational artist. He's shifted the sound of hip-hop specifically and or music by just being him at all times and being honest and authentic. That inspired J. Cole, who I also love very much so as an artist, and most of his discography. I'm not in love with all of his catalog, but because the early shit, like, I don't know, like what was the name of that album after the debut album? Born Sinner. No, Born Sinner was the... I can't remember right now my J. Cole albums like that, but the one after the first major label debut album, the one that had Mr. Nice Watch and the Paul Abdul sample song, I don't like either of those albums. The one that has Crooked Smile on it. He didn't do it there, but I think it was a mixtape. He did his own version of Kanye's Last Call, basically telling his story and all that too. So that was really great to hear, nice to see that Last Call inspired someone else just as deep and soul-bearing as J. Cole to do his own version, and rightfully so. I love that type of shit. But yeah, that's basically it for Mortal Man. More importantly, that's basically it for King Kunta, and of course, that's the cherry on top of this episode dedicated to Pimp a Butterfly. 10 years since it released, back in March 15th of 2015, brought to you by Kendrick Lamar.
Hey, someone just came up to me and told me that you like disrespectful Latinas. Is that true? Go fuck yourself.
Yo, it's over. All right, it's over. It's over. Move the mic. Move the mic.
Thank you.
All right.